Okay, my name is Edwina Lee. I'm from Taiwan, Arctic Technology. And Taiwan is a country, very small country in Asia. And basically, we speak Mandarin and we use traditional Chinese. And I'm very happy to be here to share with you how to find or develop a matched Chinese font for the existing Latin fonts. And I think Mariko has talked something about this in the previous speech, and I hope you enjoy it. Okay, I think most of you are very familiar with the Latin fonts, but have you ever think about how to match the Chinese with the Latin? Maybe you haven't think about it, but okay. For example, I use iPhone, and right now it's upgraded to iOS 7. Although I use the traditional Chinese version, but you still could see some numbers or English letters to be used with the Chinese together. How do you think they look? Is that good? Okay, so first of all, I would like to talk about the difference between Chinese and Latin characters. So, for the shapes, the Chinese are all made in squares with different sizes. But for the Latin, it's in rectangle, wider or narrower. And for the usage, the Chinese has its own meaning for each character. But for the Latin, you need to put several letters to be used as a word. And then for the numbers of the characters, for example, like the WGL character set, there are 652 characters. But for the traditional Chinese character set, Big 5, there are 13,000 characters, more than that. And for the simplified Chinese, there are over 27,500 characters. That's a lot. But let's look at the numbers of the typefaces. For Latin, there are about 20,000 or more. But for traditional Chinese, there are only about 500. And for the simplified Chinese, there are about 1,000. So it's like 20 to 40 times different. So it's impossible for you to find each Latin and match Chinese. So it's really hard. It's a huge work to create a new Chinese font. So if you could find a exist Chinese to match the Latin, that would save a lot. So we try to do something to see how you find it. So it's like what I said. There are like 20 to 40 times difference between the typefaces of Latin and Chinese. And for the Latin font, you always have a family with different weights. But it's hard for you to find a complete family for the Chinese. So I do a classification as well here. But for the Chinese, the upper one is for the text, and the second one is more like with the feature of Chinese writing brush, and then the third one is more like the handwritten style, and the fourth one is more like decorative fonts. For the Latin, I hope you won't feel the classification is silly, but could you find any connection between them? Okay. So we try to find some interesting points when we match the Chinese and the Latin. So first of all, we take Bangla, a Latin font for example. It has the feature with a thinner horizontal stroke and thicker vertical strokes. But could you find a match the Chinese font with the same contrast? And next, when you use Chinese and Latin together, of course, Chinese is more complicated and has more strokes. So the weight of Chinese must be thinner than the Latin. Then they will look even in the darkness. And for the elements, I take ATypI for example, because I don't know if you can see clear, but I think you know that the elements of ATypI at the terminals has a little bit curve. So if you want to find a match Chinese, maybe you could look for one with the same terminal. we tried that. So actually, in our own library, there are two Chinese font, and we match with the Latin with a flat terminal. This is the idea. Okay, and letter size is important as well. So there are some Latin characters with wider width in the letter size. So in this way, we think it must look better with the Chinese font with wider width of the letter size. And the next one with a higher height in the letter size. Maybe they look match in this way. So where can we find match Chinese font? Of course, if you want to find best match, the best way is to create one. But it takes a lot of work to do that. So if you are lucky enough, maybe you can find an exist one to match your Latin. So we did some, little experiments. Okay, we pick a system from Mac and Apple Casual, and we try to find to match with our font in our library. So of course they look very different. So we keep trying and trying and trying. This one looks very close. And then we found this one in our library, and they look perfect together. Yeah. So we look at some details like the contrast of Latin and Chinese. They are very similar. And then for the weight of Latin is a little bit heavier than the Chinese, so it's perfect. For the elements, they look exactly the same. So the letter size look okay in this way. So we try to put that in a short article. And I think they just look good. So we try to match more. And this one is a Chinese of written by the brush, Chinese brush. So they look good as well. And this one is more like handwritten style. We think they look good. But this one is not that lucky. Of course, when you put them together, they look okay. But the letter size of the Latin is, way too big than the Chinese. Okay, and this one is not that lucky. But something interesting is like they're used in the same age. One in Western, one in China. Okay, and we did the last try, and we found that not all the Latin font is lucky enough to find a Chinese. So in this way, what could we do? So ATypI is trying to find out some solution for the designers to save some time when they want to do the matchmaking. Okay, so first of all, like I said, the Latin family not only has a lot of weight, but sometimes you have condensed. So what can we do for the Chinese? Of course, we could do the interpolation as well. But Chinese characters are more complicated. So when you interpolate it, one font, you still need to do fine tune or adjustment for the interpolated characters. And what we are trying to do is, for the Latin side, we keep the width of the vertical stroke, and we only interpolated the horizontal strokes. And then for the right-hand side one, we keep the horizontal stroke, and we interpolated the vertical ones and the slope ones. So in this way, we could create 3 different styles of the Chinese font. Okay. So right now we try to match Latin font with thinner horizontal strokes, and then we could just easily interpolate it one. We don't need to recreate a Chinese font. So we put the Latin and Chinese in a short article, and we think they look good. Okay, next. Can Chinese be condensed? Like I said, Chinese are all made in squares. So, but condensed Latin font is very common. So when the designer they want to use the Chinese with the condensed Latin, what they do is they condense by themselves. Use the Illustrator or Photoshop. They just condense one by themselves. But in this way, they will change the structure of the Chinese. And of course, the weight will change. They won't stay the same. So what we are trying to do is using our own engine to condense the Chinese without changing the weight. So in this way, the right-hand side, they might look better together. So if we want to match a family with condensed Latin, maybe it's a good way to do it. Okay, and for changing the elements, of course, I'm focused on the common used style Haiti. It's more like sans serif style. So what we are trying to do is we keep the skeleton of one Chinese font, and we just change the elements at the terminals or the strokes. In this way, we could easily get 4 different styles. So if you want to do the matchmaking for ATypI, we could just use a skeleton of one of our Haiti, and then just change the terminals with the feature of ATypI, and then you could easily match them together. Okay, so in the way I mentioned above, we could create different Chinese font in a very, very short time. And all of this could be realized with our own font engine. We call that Infinity Font. Thank you very much.
Any questions? Thank you very much, Edwina.